They called it the Ark. It was their vision of the future. Peaceful, sustainable. The pinnacle of science and engineering. But it became more than that. It became the last promise of salvation on a dying planet. A promise for some. But not for all.
Hi, I'm Richard Ham. I'm the creative director at Splash Damage Studios in London, England. And right now we're working on Brink, which is a first-person shooter that's going to be coming out for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC in spring of 2010, coming to you from the creators and makers of the Enemy Territory, Quake Wars, and Wolfenstein games. Okay, Brink is set on the Ark, which you're actually seeing a small part of right here. Now, the Ark was actually made in the year 2005, and it was going to be a prototype for the perfect future, where mankind lives completely in harmony, with the rest of nature. No greenhouse gases, carbon emissions are completely off the chart. All of that stuff is absolutely perfect, and it does mean that we'll save the planet. Ark succeeded. We did actually build this prototype, and for the first 10 years it was going really well. It was like the 10th wonder of the world, and celebrities came from all over. But then the worst thing of an inconvenient truth that could have happened, and overnight sea levels rose all over the world. And millions, hundreds of millions of people were displaced, and the biggest mistake the makers, the founders of Ark, ever made was opening their doors to all the refugees. And so overnight, they went from a community that could house 5,000 people in this perfect situation to suddenly having 50,000 people. And then over the ensuing years, as more and more people were born, resources started running low, tensions started running high, and at the beginning of the game, the whole place is on the brink, hence the title, of an all-out civil war, and that's where you come in. Well, one of the most interesting things about how Brink plays is it's up to you whether you want to play by yourself as a single-player solo campaign, or you could be running along and your friends come online so they can immediately jump into your game. You could jump into their game so you have this seamless transition into co-op, or you could go one step further and seamlessly transition from a solo offline game into an online competitive game. And no matter how you play, you're always getting the same really awesome, in-your-face, intense first-person shooter experience that takes kind of the best of what you saw from our Enemy Territory games, this real strong sense of objectives and narrative that kind of stitches together a story and brings it into an in-your-face shooter where you can play however you want. Well, it's interesting, a lot of shooters now have done experience points. It's becoming a really common thing. And so we're doing it too, and of course we've done it in our previous games as well. Here's the thing that I think is most important about experience points. Most games give them all to you for actually scoring kills, which is nice, but that's rewarding players for something that they were going to do anyway. They were already having fun getting kills. So we reward you for all the other stuff you can do, all the stuff that makes you a really good teammate. So while you could actually spend the next half hour racking up 20 kills and earn 20 experience points, instead, as an engineer, you could go up and upgrade my gun so I can become a more effective player, and that'll earn you the 20 experience points in 10 seconds. So we're actually bribing players to work well with each other and ensure that everybody has a good time. We have 4 classes, and they're kind of the traditional classes you've seen in other team-based, class-based games. So you've got your soldier, who is all about blowing stuff up and making sure everybody has enough ammo. You've got your medic, who is all about keeping people alive. You've got your engineer, who builds stuff, repairs stuff, as I just mentioned, upgrades things. And you've got your operative, who's kind of like the spy, who's always behind enemy lines, finding people to interrogate, finding people to disguise himself as. The interesting thing about our classes, unlike other class-based games, is normally it's only the medic who actually has a reason to basically reach out and touch his teammates and really get involved. But in our game, everybody has a reason to really interact with each other. Like I was saying, the engineer is an example. He has the ability to upgrade his teammates' guns, which is a very, very powerful thing. So if you have an engineer on your team who's doing his job, everybody becomes a better killing machine. And everybody has unique and fun class abilities like that. And the important thing is, you can switch class at any time you want, and you can earn experience and become better at each and every class. Well, you're right. Balancing a game like this is a huge challenge, but it's also, fortunately, a lot of fun. Right now, we're in development twice a week, sometimes more if we can. Twice a week at least, we have playtests where we get everybody on the team coming in, creating characters with a lot of different abilities and just throwing us in with each other and seeing what kind of rises to the crop, what's overpowering, what's really kind of boring and nobody wants to use. So that's our first stage, just actually having fun with the game. And actually, I gotta say, one of the things I'm most pleased about the game is just how much fun it is to play right now. Even though we're still quite a ways out from shipping, so that's fantastic. We're also really listening a lot to our fans. Obviously the enemy territory games have a huge, huge fan base. And if you go to our Splash Damage website, you'll see that I and actually several of our teammates are in regular conversations with the actual players of our games. We've got a great thread right now about the AI that was in our bots from Quake Wars and how we should improve it, and we're using that information to make the game better. And as well, we've got a world-class team. We've just recently gotten Neil Alfonso, who was the lead level designer on Killzone 2. We've got Olivier Leonardi, who was the top artist on Rainbow Six Vegas and Prince of Persia. So we've got an incredible, experienced group of guys who know how to make really fantastic console experiences. And then we've also still got all our team who've made Wolfenstein Enemy Territory and Quake Wars, who really have been doing this for almost a decade now. So we've really kind of cover the gamut of making a game for hardcore players like we always have, but also making it inviting to new players like me who are maybe a little bit nervous about going online for the first time. Well, yeah, mission objectives are our bread and butter. It's what's always made our games really, really unique. We are not just a kind of vanilla team deathmatch game or capture the flag game or capture and hold. It's all about actually putting you in really exciting multiplayer shooting experiences where there's a reason you're here. Everybody knows one team, we've got to accomplish this, the other team, we've got to stop it. And so everybody's pursuing their own thing. Now, we have basically at any given time 2 types of objectives. There's always the core objective. It's why your team is there. In the demo that we're actually showing here at Cologne, the security team, they've gone in to Container City, which is basically what we've seen built out here. They've gone in there to shut down a dirty bomb factory. That's what they've got to do. They're breaking into people's homes. They're not crazy about it, but they know they've got to stop that threat. Meanwhile, the Resistance guys, if you're playing on the Resistance team, all they know is security bastards. Can I say bastards? All right, yeah, I'll get bleeped. Security so-and-sos are coming into our homes, they're kicking open our doors, they're scaring our grandmothers, and for what? To steal from us. Push them back into the sea. So you've already got this really interesting kind of story element where both teams have completely different goals, and both of them always have this core thing they need to do for their team to win. And that kind of creates the front line, where everybody goes and there's just like lots of really intense, in-your-face, infantry combat. Now on top of that, there's all these secondary objectives that are dynamic and constantly popping up all of the time. You might be a engineer and the machine gun nest that somebody was manning gets destroyed. You suddenly get a new objective to go and repair it. You don't have to. You could stay on the front line and keep fighting. But if you do, again, we will bribe you because that machine gun nest is really important. It controls the choke point that your team needs to stay on top of. We'll bribe you. We will pay you heavily in experience points to go and do that thing. But if you don't, somebody else might want to change into an engineer to do that as well. So there's constantly this dynamic, shifting battlefield where at any given time, you could look at your list of things to do and be surprised, oh my God, I could go do that now? I love doing that. And so you'll rush off and do it. And the important thing is you'll be helping your team. Even though you're off doing your own thing, kind of being a lone wolf, you're still ensuring that your team has a better chance of winning. Well, the obvious difference is on PC you're going to have a lot more options for doing dedicated servers, and you'll have a lot more fine control over graphic settings, that sort of thing. But we are really working very, very hard to make sure that there's an equally good experience on all three systems. We've already had a really good pedigree of making shooters on PC that feel fantastic, that really use the mouse and keyboard really well. So we've got that, we've nailed it. It feels fantastic now, so we're putting all our focus on ensuring that the console feels just as good. That guy I mentioned, Aubrey, earlier, a big part of his job is working out to make sure that even with these sticks, you've got as much freedom to be able to do whatever you want whenever you want as if you had a mouse. So, we should, at the end of the day, all three platforms should feel fantastic, look fantastic, and play fantastic. Fantastisch! Guten Tag, wie geht es Ihnen? Schnitzel!